to make it clear, like I did my positions were very little. I had very little rigging, especially specifically rigging positions. My most of my career, well, the beginning started off with in a very small studio called Liquid Animation, where we were doing. We were working with Disney Japan, actually. We were working with Japanese arm of Disney a lot to do like little vignette animations of Mickey Mouse and stuff. And we worked as well on a Daffy Duck cartoon called Duck Dodgers that was on Cartoon Network. And at the time, I was modeling characters and then rigging them. I was kind of, most there was two types of people there: animators and the people who made all the other stuff that animators animated, basically. And so I was one of these guys. And then I kind of really wanted to keep going in the direction of the character thing. But then it kind of took me towards like generalist work, effects work. And it actually took me a long time for me to curve back into character, specifically character stuff. And get back into like more like CFX and character simulation and things like that. So yeah, I wouldn't really say that my overall career job title was rigging. It's just a big mess of titles and a big mess of departments that have been in.
But well, sorry, rigging. Sometimes I thought like rigging, but like you say, like character effects, character technical related stuff. I would say that maybe better description. Sorry for
because if some of my friends watch this, they're like, wait, Simon's not a rigger.
Sorry, my fault.
No worries.
But yeah, and I think the interesting, you must have a really interesting perspective on how different it's each studio, and how it's the big difference between this small, bigger, and almost like kind of freelance size sometimes, no? Like everything must like have some kind of like good and bad things. How do you feel like or it's all fancy?
I guess, well, with every studio, it really, what I found is people will say, this studio is like this, or this studio is like that, or the culture in that studio is like this or like that. With the bigger studios, one thing I can say is like everyone's experience is slightly different. It really is, because there's so many people there, so many different things happening. There's no real like everyone kind of gets like an idea of like what the studio is like. It's back at Weta, it's like when I was there at least, the studio had quite a reputation for really long hours. That was kind of a really well-known thing about Weta, is that you worked really long hours, but you were being paid for every hour. So it was the place to go to when you wanted to buy a house or something. back when I went, that was the sort of, a lot of people in CG would just, go do 2 years at Weta and come back and buy a house kind of thing. Wow. It was a bit exaggerated in the end, but it wasn't far from the truth, because they hired everyone on a sort of freelance basis. And so that means that every kind of hour that you did overtime, you would get paid for. And sort of what I was initially about to say was that some of the departments never did any overtime at all. So if you ask someone from, they're probably going to hate me for saying that, but someone from modeling or assets, they'd be like, nah, it's a pretty good experience. I go home at 5, I'm good. If you ask somebody from the effects department, they're just like, man, it's so hard. I'm doing so many hours. It just all depends on who's doing what.
I guess also it must depend of the project, and even the same teams, and it's different projects in different moments. It's totally
different supervisor.
Yeah.
It's.
But But it sounds fair for me. I mean, if there is like this kind of agreement, like everybody knows it, and you pay every single hour, and yeah, I think yeah, like you say, it's a nice place to go, obviously, and yeah, if, it depends how how much you can endure. You get a bigger or smaller house.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, all of that has changed, I believe, quite a lot. Actually, apparently, it changed really soon after I left.
Oh.
They started implementing like like a set amount of hours, and you can't work more unless you get it approved, and it would be very difficult to get it approved and everything. So I still have friends there, and they're telling me that like as far as like long work hours, it's not like that anymore. Yeah, which is good.
Yeah,
Everyone
absolutely.
needs to be able to have a life outside of work.
Yeah, that's yeah. Well, nowadays it's a little more difficult, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. This is my work.
Yes, exactly. So same here. It's
yeah.
So it's a bit blurry the difference, but yeah, I think overall I'm this is something I was commenting like before. I'm very happy working from home. Honestly, this is one of the, if I can say was a good thing about all this pandemic, it's like I discover like working from home. It's really nice, and even working a lot of hours, some like punctual moments, I think it's much better in any situation of like a family balance time.
Yeah, same, likewise, same for me. I mean, I don't have any children, but my wife and I just got a puppy, and we couldn't have had a puppy if we were still working in the office, because it's just, he's sleeping now, so because it's late, you won't get to see him. But it's so much work. He's so energetic, and yeah, there's just no way we could have him locked inside the house by himself while we're in the office. So yeah.
But yeah, for me it's just like we don't have puppy, but yeah, like to have this.
But you have children?
Yeah, I have to. So the ability just to take a break, like 10 minutes going downstairs or taking care, giving like some like I don't know, snacks or something if they're hungry, just a fruit, or pick my daughter from the kindergarten from time to time when something like my wife has to do something else, like to this ability to just make a little breaks and help to the family, even it's not like a big help, but just 15 minutes or 10 minutes there and there, it's a completely different the balance of work, like from each I mean,
and I'm sure to your children that's also very meaningful to have you being more present in the household.
Yeah, well, I think I'm not that present when I'm working here in the room. That's sad true. But yeah, they normally they can get in. Now they're not here at home, but yeah, the chances that they say hello in the meeting, it's very high, even with a closed door. So they can see me anytime.
That's great.
That's yeah, absolutely. And normally, well, we colleagues and so on, so everybody understands, and it's always like no problem. So I didn't have an issue like well, I guess not like this, but I think it was in England, this TV show that the kids get in on the
it was a BBC correspondent. I think it was like a correspondent for Korea or something. Yeah,
it was like kind of
that was really funny.
Yeah. Was cool. Yeah, so yeah, no kind of these situations, but yeah. But sorry, going back to you, that you're the guest today, so sorry.
No worries.
So your work at like you did more like character effects. Do you had any like a specialty on the character effects, or like because there's a bunch of like different things?
Yeah, well, not really. In the end, what happened was I mean, a lot of my career has been based around the fact that I wanted to use Houdini. And back in the day when I was starting out, characters and Houdini were kind of two different worlds where, anywhere that any studio that I worked, if you wanted to do anything character related, even character effects, it was all done in Maya with Encloth or Cyflex. I don't know if you remember Cyflex.
Oh yes.
And when I worked at Animal Logic, they were using XSI, Softimage, XSI for most of their character animation and everything like that. But there was just, even there was actually no Houdini at all at Animal Logic when I was there. I don't think they had a single license. And when I joined Weta, they had 2 licenses, I remember.
Wow.
They had 2 licenses, and everything, even in the effects department, actually, because they were writing their own tools. So a lot of the stuff we were using was just bespoke kind of
proprietary software.
Internal stuff. And I just wanted to use Houdini, and that's basically what's been kind of driving my career mostly. And the reason why I seem to have done so many different departments is that I was always trying to follow where I could use Houdini in a character context. And it's only very recently that I actually managed to do both. When I joined Untold a couple of years ago, I managed to get a job sort of, I don't want to say overseeing the character effects department, because I was basically the only character effects guy in the studio, and doing it in Houdini completely from scratch and building my own kind of pipeline of how to do the whole character effects thing in Houdini. That was like the first time that I finally like got both pieces, were like Houdini and characters. And about a year later, they were like, do you want to run the real-time department? And I was like, and use Unreal Engine instead of Houdini? And they're like, yeah. I was like, all right. That sounds fun.
But they play really nice indeed. I read news from a few months ago. They I think they have cross share, like I think the people from Unreal, they bought a little shares of Houdini.
Yeah. Epic invested in side effects, but not like a mega grant. They actually invested as an investor, which is interesting. So I'm sure they've been trying very hard to buy them. Epic is buying everyone at the moment.
I just before going to the, because I really want, I'm learning also Unreal now and trying to do some stuff with Unreal, but with Houdini also, it's getting super interesting right now with the KineFX stuff. I think it's really powerful and top potential that is there. I don't know yet how much, because I didn't have it. I mean, I just need to learn first Unreal, then go Houdini, because it's no excuse to don't learn it anymore, because I think KineFX is very it's something that you will not find in any other application. And but the thing is not for traditional rigging, but other stuff that is not even done yet that you can do now with all these these points and transforms in the space, working as a geometry, and all the procedural things that you can do with geometry that can be combined. And I don't know, I just cannot imagine what can be done, but I guess you can go pretty crazy with that.
I mean, again, it's so it's as fate will have it, the whole time I was using Houdini in a character context or wanting to do character work in Houdini, I always thought they really need to do their rigging in SOPs, which is, how much do you know Houdini? Well, I guess, it's
not that much.
People on this podcast might not know, so it's good to go in details, but Houdini has like contexts, and the contexts are just like, it's where you approach certain things. So if you want to do nodal stuff in rendering, you go into the render operators context, and that's called ROPs, render operators. And SOPs is the surface operators, and it's where you do all the deformation, and a lot. Basically, it's where a lot of the Houdini magic happens. It's in SOPs. and they have another one called chops, which is channel operators, and that's where you kind of do all the nodal stuff for curves, where you can edit curves, animation curves. So and historically, Houdini was doing all of their rigging in the object context, which is it's the top level context. It's basically like the outliner in Maya. So it's where you have all the transforms, all the objects. That's where you parent stuff, and it's actually very clunky because none of it is procedural at all. It is just like the Maya outliner in a way, where you parent this, you parent that, and then you create a constraint between this and that. So it's all just very manual, and I just didn't really see the advantage, or like, if Houdini was going to take riggers away from Maya and into Houdini, they needed to create a better offering than what's already available in Maya. And for years and years and years, they just had a subpar version of what Maya was already doing. And I always thought, man, just do it in subs. Just do it in subs. That's where the magic is. That's what you have to do. And in fact, I actually did do like quite a few of my own little wannabe versions of KineFX to address certain kind of production problems, ages ago. And I just kept thinking like, this is how it should be done. Like, and finally last year they were like, yes, we've done it. And I was like, yes, it's perfect. I'm going to use Unreal now. Bye. And I haven't had a chance. To give it a try since it came out. And all my friends are like, have you see you could do this in KineFX? And I'm just like, man, I want to try it. I just don't have the time.
But I think this is something that I mean, even if you're working on Unreal now, but moving data back and forward, all the demos I saw, the ones with the retargeting or doing these procedural animations that you can do and put back and forward with Unreal and Houdini, I think there's sooner or later you're gonna pull the strings and get all together again and assemble.
It's gonna get good. I mean, you have to remember, like, the Houdini engine and the way that Houdini works into Unreal, it's still kind of just a bridge, right? You have like the Houdini core that kind of needs to like wake up and process something and then sort of feed it back into Unreal. So very quickly you lose the concept of real-time anything, because Houdini is not really optimized to be a real-time piece of software. It's good at doing the opposite. It's good at managing just huge amounts of data and crushing it down or crunching it down over hours if need be, in a very stable way. But Houdini's magic is definitely not processing anything in real time. That's not what it does. So sort of plug in Houdini into the Unreal Engine, what you have is like a way to make tools, so you can make a building generator, but you can't have that building getting generated in your game at runtime. That procedurality goes away. So what you're doing really is you're just making a tool, like a Houdini based tool. Instead of using C++, you're using Houdini, and you're making a tool for the Unreal Engine user, none of the
you need to bake that down or compile to one of the levels. For instance, I saw a lot of level design that's happening with the Houdini engine inside Unreal. So you have these nice tools that are procedural to build, like from fence to whole worlds, and it's very of course it's not real time, but it's very fast for the person who is doing these levels or these assets on Unreal to process this data and create new stuff. Because I think for real time, especially for games, the scale of the project is, it's exponentially increasing, like these open worlds and this.
Oh my god, it is mind-blowing. The last open world game I played was was that samurai one.
Ghost of
Yeah, Ghost of Tsushima.
yeah.
Yeah,
So the
that
demos.
was just incredible. And you're walking around and riding around and everywhere, and you're just like, man, that is so much to make, so much attention to detail.
Yeah. Do you saw this demo from Promethea AI?
I'm not sure actually which one.
Promethea. Maybe I'm mispronouncing.
Promethea.
Promethea AI.
No, that doesn't ring a bell.
You need to check that one. It's I will add a link on the description. I will send you later also.
Yeah, yes, please do it.
It's a really cool.
Oh, is it
yeah.
the room generator? Is that the one? No.
Room. No, it's not. It just in the example they build kind of a forest with a river and few things.
Oh, okay.
And it's more like it's like AI driven. So I want this kind of forest, and you just describe what you want and give some. It looks like black magic right now. It's like a teenage.
Wow. Yeah.
And I send you later. They have a demo that you can download, and it plugs obviously with Unreal. I think the demo is on Unreal, but it's also with Maya. You can use it. They have a bridge for Maya as well.
Wow.
Yeah, sorry, I went in a tangent there, but yeah.
That's sort of what I meant with KineFX, is that, like, I can imagine you using it to rig a whole bunch of different characters with different proportions, and then you can leverage that and use it in Unreal. But having that cool procedural, like, ability to grow bones and like create bones on the fly and kind of procedurally rig something over time, that's just a Houdini thing, really. And that like the Houdini engine won't be able to crunch that in real time to
and now like going to for the Unreal, this is something I'm very eager to dig more on, especially on the control rig side. I'm trying to like scratch time from any corner just to get to go through all the these tutorials and everything, just to learn as fast as I can. Are you start working on that? Do you play around with control rig?
Yeah, actually I started using it on one of our projects at the moment, literally a couple of days ago, yesterday or Friday. Yeah, it seems cool. I mean, it is exactly what it needs to be. You know what I mean? It feels like it was made by someone who, and clearly it was made by someone who knows exactly what a rigger needs. The hardest thing with that, I think, and I'm sure as a rigger you'll know what I mean, is it's not really like getting the actual rigging done, it's getting animators to use it.
Oh yeah. Yes, that's I think it's gonna come with the time, little by little. And the the tools are I mean, really amazing. I think the rigging part, it's still like I think animators will be the key piece to convince, but I think when they see the advantages, like to have like this kind of feedback, like you can have when everything is set on the scene, and you can almost have like, well, without the almost, like final quality images and so on. But obviously there is a lot of lack also in the animation tools, I will say. I think there is, like, if you go like all animators like use these animbots or similar tools, like this picker, you have picker, but there's a lot of like these little complementary tools that are kind of the Maya ecosystem, I will say, exclusively right now. And that's the reason, because Maya is still kind of the king of character animation. It's not all, I mean, Maya is really powerful and it's very efficient what he does, and you can, I think, in terms not only on rigging but deformation wise, it's difficult to right now to compete against that, I would say, with some I think there's coming technology, or there is technology, but it's still like it needs to become more mainstream. I had Rich Harry, you know him from it's called Kite String, and they have this it's gonna kill
Roomba?
me. No,
No.
it's Ozone. Sorry, Ozone. It's
No, that doesn't ring a bell.
it's like a deformation system for Unreal, and but basically you out for the moment, as far as I know, and maybe Rich is gonna kill me if he's listening this. It's it's only you author in Modo, the deformation stack, but it works like so. You have this deformation stack that normally you cannot do it in Unreal. For instance,
Yeah.
to plug several plane shapes nodes one after the other to do stacks, rigs, and things like that.
Yeah.
You can do it now in Unreal with that.
Okay.
So it's there. It's
yeah,
there.
that's interesting. And that's a plugin. That's a third party
Yeah.
plugin. Okay.
Yeah. I think maybe they get also Mega Grant. I don't know. I will need to confirm, but
everyone's getting Mega Grants.
Not me. You know, I applied for one and I didn't get it. So, for MGear, I did. I'm gonna maybe apply again in the future, but
yeah,
I did the latest release. Sorry, going a tangent here. For I did like these Epic components and the Epic templates for. So we have now the mannequin and the metahuman templates. So basically,
cool.
You builds exactly with the same joint naming conventions and joint orientations and like the mannequin
really
and metahuman. So you can basically rig with MGear, and if you have already your blueprints or control rig or anything done, so
just plug right in. Yeah, that's really interesting. Good to know. Actually, I hadn't heard about that.
Always glad to plug MGear.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But yeah, the still like there's been reports some I was kind of bugs, not bugs, but some polish things, and well, some bugs actually also. And yeah, it's gonna come. I need a hot fix very soon, again, like this week or next week. So yeah, it's okay that you don't check it yet, because maybe you gotta get a bad impression if you wait. But yeah,
I'll wait a bit.
Yeah. But yeah, it's still there. But yeah, didn't get a Mega Grant, so yeah.
Next time.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep pushing in that direction for sure. So yeah. And yeah, sorry. So you was checking like the control rig, and how is going that at the like first 2 days on?
Yeah, I mean, again, yeah, I've only sort of played around with them for a couple of days, so it's hard to cast judgment on it, but it seems to tick all the boxes. And what I currently need it for is more for fancy kind of mocap retargeting than actual kind of keyframe animation. So I'm not really too worried about the animbot and that stuff, because we're not planning on having anyone kind of animate this by hand. But it's just it seems like I'm toying with the two options of just doing it directly in the anim graph, in the anim blueprint anim graph, and just actually setting up IK chains and rotation connections and things like that, which to me seems like it'll work, and it should be pretty fast. So I'm toying with the control rig at the moment for the retargeting, but I'm not sure if I need that extra component in between my mocap and my character. So we'll see.
Yeah, because for the people that's listening that maybe don't know the difference, there's the animation blueprints that were there. I mean, since very long. I don't know that long Unreal, like, but I think that was from the beginning there. And you can do all this stuff, or part of this stuff, like set the IKs for runtimes and things like that. So your character will have some kind of
yeah, it has like lots of different options for IK, like full body IK, like the CCD IK is the one I'm using, because the character we're working on has like, you know, the typical sort of backwards knee, you know, animal kind of foot, or animal leg. And so to control that, we played around with different options, and the CCDIK really does a good job of it. So yeah, pretty happy with that. I don't know, but I have to do my due diligence and have a look at control rig just in case something better. They have like better tools to do what I do. But I generally like to stay in. I'm the kind of person who, as soon as I click a button and too many things happen, I get a little bit like, I'd like to see the components. I like to, sometimes I'd prefer to make something less advanced, but where I know everything in the chain. I think that comes from my time in big studios where they say you have to get this done, but what you're doing at first is you're just putting something in dailies for people to then just pick at and change constantly and say, do it again like this, put more of this, more of that, more of that. And then your job after that is just constantly changing that thing. If you did it with one big script that just went click, woo, here it is, to then do every like the minutiae changes, you don't really have control over it, because you don't understand how it works up until that point. So I like to kind of take a step back and try to simplify things and understand what's happening, even if it's at the cost of potentially having a less advanced system. At least I have control over it, and then I can make it do what I want because I understand how it works.
Yeah, definitely. Like even for Houdini, like working on a more low level, like kind of access, than if you have something like it highlight like an abstract, or like like you have an interface, very complex behavior with an interface with few options, and if there is nothing that fits these options for you, you cannot use it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that makes sense. In many situations, especially like you said, like in the big studios.
That's one of the things that drove me to M-Gear when I was looking for but it's when I was working for the line, and we were I went there to freelance as a character rigger for a while, and they were looking for rigging 2D characters. So lots of squash and stretch, and you just needed to be able to do anything. And at the time I worked at ILM in the creature effects department. Sorry, in the creature department. And at ILM in the creature department, it's riggers and CFX, both department in one. And usually, well, at least in the London office, they tried to make sure that everyone did both, so that you didn't kind of have half the department going to one side only doing CFX and the other half only doing rigging. And that's sort of when I got back into rigging after a really long kind of hiatus doing effects, generalist work, all sorts of Houdini jobs that were not character related. Came back to ILM and I sort of started doing rigging work again. And that was using Block Party, which you might have heard about. I think they got a SciTech award for it.
Yes, I heard about it.
Which was really cool, and it was like the way that it worked, how it was all blocked, and you could kind of like re-rig like each kind of component of a character and everything. I got used to using it, and then when I realized, oh, I'm gonna go freelance, I quit ILM because I wanted to take a break from the film industry, and I went to freelance for the line. But I'm like, I haven't looked into rigging solutions for Maya in years. I don't even know what's out there. And so I started like, searching around for what existed, and realized that there was like there's a lot of rigging tools for Maya, but a lot of them have like black boxes. So because I guess, it's fair enough, like they're selling the product. And so you kind of start realizing, like, I was like, so if I buy this, like, can I give a rig to, you know, another person in the studio? Do they also need to buy it? And it was just starting to get a bit complicated. And also I was like, I don't like the fact that there was some sort of magic solver in the background that was doing a lot of the heavy lifting that I couldn't kind of crack open and change if I needed to. And then after a while, I came across MGear because I just searched for open source, put open source in the search box and see what comes up. And MGear, came up, and I was like, okay, that's looking. And then when I looked further into it, and I realized that it had a lot of the same sort of philosophies as Block Party, I was like, yeah, I'm in. So
I didn't know
introduced
that.
Flav. Huh?
Yeah. No, sorry. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, it's the component system, and how open it is, and the the sort of pre kind of pre-rig scripts, post-rig scripts. I just felt kind of like at home. I mean, granted, I haven't really looked at many auto rig systems for Maya in the past few years. As soon as I found that MGear was going to do what I needed it to do, I was like, I stopped my research. That's the one I'm using now. I just felt at home after using Block Party for a while.
And you was telling, sorry, that you show because you use it on the line, but also like it was with No Ghost, I think. And
yeah. So when I started doing this job for the line, they're kind of like sister companies, or they're very close. And there was this artist called Tom Flavel, great friend of mine, and I told him, like, you guys, they were at the time trying to use, or they were working with a rigger who was trying to make a product, so they had to kind of like license it. Any kind of anything that freelance rigger made, they would need kind of like a license key to be able to run the rigs that he made. It was something kind of really weird like that, where they felt kind of trapped, you know what I mean, like where it was like, what about 10 years from now, if we want to open up that rig, what happens? So I said, like, yeah, like, check out MGear, man. And he was like, okay. And like since then, I don't know if we go a week without him like showing me a new thing he's done in MGear. And like I'm sure you'll have him on the podcast soon enough. He's doing some incredible stuff.
But it's not with Tom. I think I tried at the early beginning of the podcast, but it's like, I don't know. So maybe listening to this one, he changed his mind. You invited Tom anytime.
Yeah, he'll come to the podcast for sure when he's ready. But yeah, like, and he's really kind of taken it and ran with it, and that's really cool seeing what he's doing, what they're doing.
I'm big. Yeah, we was commenting before we start recording that I'm big fan of No Ghost and the line. I think I'm like in a really like fanboyish kind of
yeah, me too.
really I really like the 2D. I mean, I know No Ghost is doing all these VR things, and they have a really nice projects that I really like. This they have this Madrid Noir, this
yeah
it's beautiful, and also for No Line, sorry, the line. No Ghost, I just mixing the names now.
No Line. if they merge one day, that should be
maybe
the name.
it's No Line. I say it first. Sorry, but yeah, the I think I discovered well, indeed, I was following one of the guys from the line before they started the line on Vimeo. And then when they started doing how was the
you're
short
talking about Tim McCourt, right?
yeah
he did,
because
they did that Joyride.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
and
so cool. It's
yeah,
so cool. I love it.
yeah. This one was, I mean, great for lack of better word. Like awesome. Like I really
Yeah.
love it, and I show it to people. I look this one. Look, yeah, it's super great. I really like this kind of and well, we are rambling here, but I don't. I mean, I don't care. It's
Yeah.
it's a super nice talk. The I don't know how to say that, but this kind of humor, I really like this kind of humor. Like this
Yeah.
very like it's not. I don't know how to say. It's very naive and very pure, but at the same time, it's
It's got a little spice to it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
and
It truly is like such a good reflection of what Tibbin's like in real life.
if I have the chance to go London, for sure I will try to
Oh yeah, please do.
fines or
Yeah,
something.
when lockdown's over, please,
Oh yeah.
like, come and join us.
Now I have the
Spend an
excuse.
evening at the pub with the Line and No Ghost and me.
That would be wonderful. The but yeah, I saw no the first one I saw one that's All I See from Top, or I don't know. There's one. There's two guys playing with a ball in a dog. They did. It's a
Oh
2D.
yeah. That was Sam. I think it was Sam's uh, like a really old project. I think.
Yeah, there was. I think the first one they did,
Yeah, the
and
very first one they did.
and I really liked it, the style and the way that they frame it and everything was super cool. And then they did these short ones. Uh, I really like it, that one. And maybe I'm disclosing too much. the Wallflowers. Do you know that one? That it's
No,
guys on the path on the disco in in the wall, like, and it's
how did I not see that? Hmm.
oh, you need to. It's very short. It's very short, but I recognize myself on like being in the wall and the disco or something with a drink or something like. So it's yeah. It's it was very I felt very close, that one for me, like not the crazy stories that happened there, but just oh, I can be one of these wallflowers.
Wallflower.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, this was a really tangent here, but
No worries.
yeah, they're, I mean, yeah, they're doing like a lot of nice stuff. I think there's I think in London there's a few studios that are always I really love what they do, always, like doesn't everything that I would say for a long time, Studio AKA or AKA, I don't know how,
Yeah.
and The Line and The Ghost, and maybe I'm missing someone, but yeah, the well, also like the more like Passion Pictures and Glassworks also, they're amazing.
Yeah. They've I think they've Glassworks. I don't know if they're in London anymore. Actually, I think they've moved mainly to Amsterdam. I
Oh
could be
really?
wrong though.
Yeah, I
Maybe
have.
maybe they still have like a temporary office here or something. But I haven't really met anyone who's worked there in a long time.
Oh, I don't know. I have friends working at the Glassworks in Barcelona. They have office in Barcelona, and I know people
Okay,
in
yeah,
also in Amsterdam. Uh,
nice.
but I don't know in London.
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah. I used to be a big fan. They were like an exercise studio back in the day, weren't
Oh
they?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm exercise guy or soft image 3D first. So
Oh, you started with the original soft image.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The
Wow.
with the silicone and all this. I'm dating myself too much now.
I actually have an Octane in my cupboard next to me, like an old Octane. It's really heavy.
Oh.
I don't know why I drag it along with me wherever I go. It's useless, but
I sold my
I can't
O2.
let it go.
I sold my O2 to a collector back in many years ago in Spain because I was moving. I was like, and I kept with the original box.
Wow, nice.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah,
Yeah, I bought this one not because I used to use it back in the day. It's actually it kind of predates me. I
Mhm.
started working in 2004, so Silicon graphics was
Yeah, it
already
was
long
around
gone.
that. Yeah.
But I bought it because I really wanted to put together the exact same system they used to make Jurassic Park. Like I wanted to kind of run Eric's on it. If anyone is out there and can get me like a copy of like the image, like Eric's and Softimage 2, I believe it's Softimage 2 or maybe Softimage 1
I
and
I
RenderMan 2. I think that's what it was. Softimage 1, RenderMan 2.
I may have back in Spain the discs,
For
and
the Eric's install.
and I may have the original manuals of Softimage 3D.
Oh wow!
I
Cool.
may have it. I don't know if I give it away because
That's
it's
part of
my
history.
dad's home. If I found it, I will reach you out and send
Okay,
you. I
thanks.
don't have. I mean, the license was with the O2, so I don't have it the license.
Yeah.
But I'll let you have the disc, so maybe put it together.
Awesome. Thanks.
But the yeah. So it's an Octane. I used to have one. The O2 I use it, and the years after I have an Indigo 2 that was pre-Octane, was the big was the Indie, and Indigo was the like the big and the small one like Octane and O2. And that was the distributor in Spain that they told me, we have one, do you want it? And I said yeah. So I went to Madrid only to pick it that. Nice. And I'm sure they have it as a door stopper. No kidding.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like they just became obsolete like overnight.
Yeah.
Like for a while, the industry, it was just silicon graphics and nothing else, and then overnight it just all went to Linux and some studios Windows.
Was in and yeah, was I think was Microsoft bought Softimage. They did the port to Windows NT, and they disrupt completely there. Completely because it was the machines were more cheaper. The edge that silicon graphics had on terms of graphic performance was no more there, or just marginal. So, but it cost like 10 times more or something. I think that is true. And I remember, I don't have pictures. This is geeking around too much. Sorry, but back in Barcelona, I have a friend working. I had a friend working in a post-production house, really nice one. And one day he sent me a picture by email, not so like they was throwing away, like literally in a container, like these big containers that do. I don't know if in UK you have these ones that when you do a like house renovation or something, you put like a container that comes with a truck, so you can put all the
like on a truck,
like the bricks and all the garbage that you when you do the renovation on the houses. So they throw it an onyx there.
Wow.
Like an onyx, like a fridge, and it was it was one inferno. They throw it because they told me it was still working, and the maintenance cost more than what was worth to, so they decided to throw it. I don't know, 2000 something. And when he sent me the picture, was one I don't know if it was homeless, but someone collecting iron to sell it by weight, and it was like removing parts just for the iron to, and it was so sad to see that. Man. I don't know where the picture.
It was the end of an era.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, big tangents today, but it's sorry, I'm a geek. I cannot stop myself.
Not a problem at all. I mean, do you want should we like, did you want to go through a little bit of like chronologically my career path, because I maybe
I'm interested.
I've been touching on stuff without
we went sorry, not too much direction this time. My fault on being
you're editing this afterwards anyway, aren't you?
No edit.
It's just going straight.
Well, I mean, it's a podcast. Cool. I mean if we say something terrible, I can edit that out. that I can do it. But I'm not editing it.
So if I want you to edit this, I just need to say something terrible, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, so I cut that part.
Just that part.
Yeah.
Damn it.
So the people see jumps on the recording means we say something terrible, something hopeful.
Right. I'm just gonna start looking for the jumps in your podcast now.
No. But yeah, I'm very interested. Like, so you were saying, like, basically you followed the Houdini path. That was your kind of rule, like where to go next.
Yeah, it was the sort of thing that guided me. Like, I started off with 3 Studio Max in the smaller studio where I was working on Daffy Duck cartoons, and I really didn't want to be using Max because I knew that the big boys were using Maya, or the big studios were using Maya, and I just, it's not great to say that, but I almost didn't want to waste my time learning a piece of software that I knew wasn't going to take me where I wanted to go. So I just wanted to go to Maya as soon as possible. So I started learning Maya on my own, and well, like everyone does, really. And it was at the time where Maya was releasing like Maya PLE. It was the first. It was Maya 4 back then, and so you could get PLE. So I was using PLE to learn it, and then just, I tried to find studios that were using Maya but then when I actually did start using Maya professionally, like in my day-to-day, I realized that all these tools I was using in Max that I was taking for granted were not there, especially in the modeling and like the modifier stack, and how kind of procedural it all was in a way, because you could kind of, put like different modifiers, a bend and model, and then another bend, and shell to create like clothing or something. And it was actually quite procedural way of working, and I realized Maya had none of that a little bit too late. and I was just getting frustrated with Maya for not having all these tools, and I was like, even Max has these tools, like, god damn it. What do you got to do to get a good piece of software these days? And then I heard about Houdini from a friend who was like, man, if you like this sort of stuff, you should look into Houdini. And so I downloaded, they also had like a learning edition back then. And I think I got it from a disc on like 3D World magazine. I remember they had like, it was an issue where they had like a light bulb getting like exploding. And it had like on the CD, like Houdini learning edition. So I got that, installed it, and just started playing around with it. And it still had the old Houdini interface before version 9, where it looked like an Erix or Unix kind of, Erix kind of.
I remember.
It's the motif kind of windowing system, and I started kind of trying to use it, and I was just like, I can see the power in that, but it literally took me like 5 hours to model a candle. And I was like, I see the power, I understand, but like, so it kind of stayed in the back of my mind, where I was like, I couldn't immediately just switch to it and just because I needed to do day-to-day work. But it just always remained like, I was like, the philosophy behind it made sense to me, and I kind of had a feeling that it would become the de facto, piece of VFX software that everyone uses. And it took a really long time for that to happen, but I think we're kind of getting to a point now where we can safely say that like no VFX studio doesn't use Houdini. Like every VFX studio has, a pretty sizable Houdini team. I was kind of just once I started hearing that some studios were using Houdini, I was like, well, actually, you know what? Like, that sounds good. I want to follow that path. I was at Animal Logic at the time, and they were not interested in Houdini at the time at all. I remember actually kind of being that kind of smartass on the email list where like I was like, we should just be doing this in Houdini, you guys. And then all the other like, you know, old school pros who've been like doing awesome work for years were like, come on, dude, just come off it, you know, like
That was
and
time where it was already like Softimage Eyes in Softimage, or was before pre Eyes time?
it's just a little bit it's during the time where it was about it, where Softimage Ice was coming out, I think. Yeah. Yeah, it was around that time, yeah. But they were not really using ice there. They because they were using XSI for rigging and animation, and then everything was going into Maya for the rest of the pipeline. So it was a bit odd in that way. But then then George Miller kind of decided to open another studio called Dr. D to create Happy Feet 2. So I kind of went along there, and they were a completely Houdini studio from the ground up. So I think again, like all the time, rigging and animation was done in Maya, but everything else was done in Houdini. And then that's when I really got my first kind of chance to be in a Houdini environment. But unlucky for me, at the time, I was in the modeling department, and I was mainly doing modeling and sort of concept art and concept sculpts. They called it like the visual development department, and we were just using ZBrush, mainly ZBrush and Maya. So I kind of got to meet some people that were using Houdini and kind of got to hear about it, but at the time I didn't really get to use it on a day-to-day. And then I left Dr. D to go to Weta, and I started in the layout department at Weta, and I started talking to friends and realized that like everyone was talking about Houdini. You know, they were like, "Oh, I'd really like to learn it, but I don't have the time." And at the time, like learning resources were so quite a bit harder to find. I felt like, you know, like these days you just go on the Side Effects website and you have like so much information, you know, and so many people like opening their YouTube channel just to teach people Houdini and things like that. Like back then, you didn't really have that. So I told him, well, you know, I just, you know, quit a studio that was all Houdini, and there's like, you know, 50 people there that are using Houdini every day. If you guys want, I can call one of them, you know, get him over here and do like a 3 day workshop just to get started. So they were like, that sounds like, you know, I sent that to the kind of social list at Weta, and immediately I had like so many responses like, yes, that sounds awesome. Like, do it, please do it. So I ended up organizing that. I called a friend of mine and he came over, and we got the University of Wellington involved, and we called Side Effects, and they were like, here's some free licenses for the weekend, you know, like, you know, go for it. So it was like really good support from everyone. Everyone was really happy with it. And then we did like a 2 day workshop. And at the time I was really new to Weta, and I didn't know who anyone was. But after the workshop, I realized like the whole Weta FX department was there. A lot of the riggers were there. A lot of like really kind of high up, super technical, like superstars were there, but I just didn't know who anyone was. I was just, you know, kind of trying to make sure everyone was following the course all right. And then like the next week, the FX supervisor or the department supervisor kind of contacted my department supervisor and said, can we get Simon into the FX department? And at the time I was like, I had never done FX. Like, this is how green I was. I don't think I had ever simmed any particles ever. You know, I had done, up to that point, I had done modeling and rigging, mostly in Maya. And that was the extent of my experience. And then here's the effects department of like Weta, like saying, you know, do you want to Do you want to come and work? And I was like, and I responded like, do you guys realize I've never run a particle sim in my life? And he replied like, I have a feeling you'll learn it quick enough. So I was like, okay, sounds good. And at that point, I was kind of already starting to look for something else or a new challenge or something. I had been in the layout department for like a year on Avatar at the time, and it was good. It was fun, and I definitely don't want to say anything about that department. It just kind of like I needed like a next step in like challenge, I guess. And FX was that. It was a hell of a challenge. I had to learn like this. I went from never having done a single particle sim in my life to using Naiad Alpha before. Do you remember Naiad?
Yes. It's before Bifrost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and this was Naiad before Naiad was Naiad. Oh no, I think actually it was already called Naiad, but it was in alpha. It hadn't been released to the public, and they were also writing their own internal fluid simulator framework, which I think they're still using. Maybe I'm not sure, but so we were using these two pieces of software. Both of them were essentially working from the command line. They had UIs, but the UIs weren't incredibly useful. It was mostly like export this to that, export that to that, and then run the solver on this, and then just pray, because otherwise you're gonna have a long night, and I was green as hell, and they had like a blade, like 4 blades assigned to us so that we could like run these giant water sims that were running with like MP, like OpenMP, where you can kind of like use multiple machines and make it seem like it's a single machine to the solver. So here I am, like 25, never done a particle sim, and I'm just running these command lines, hoping that the water that comes out will look good. It was That's so great. Stressful.
I can imagine.
Stressful. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a fantastic like opportunity, but at the same time was terrifying. Must be terrifying to take it and then to go through all this.
Yeah. I keep saying, like, most of my career I've been a yes guy, where I just say yes, and even when people say like, do you know how to do this, and I don't, I just go yes. And then I get myself in trouble because like suddenly I have a lot to learn really quickly.
Yeah, I think was the you following well, no, I guess not, but the Sir Richard Branson, the guy found Virgin.
Not really.
Richard Branson, his.
Yeah, I mean, I know who he is. Yeah,
it had, I don't know where I read it, like one of these advice that he does, that it was that if a great opportunity comes and you feel like just say yes, you will learn.
Yeah, just except he doesn't have to do the work himself.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm on my own. I don't run Virgin. Yeah,
but he was kind of advising that, so I think.
Yeah, I think if you're willing to, I think if you're young and you're willing to put in the hard work and just have a little bit of stress, I mean, I would recommend anyone who's getting in the industry to be a bit more like that. Like, I have recently met more and more graduates. I didn't used to meet a lot of graduates for some reason before, but these days, like, I come across graduates quite often because I do talks for schools and things like that. And I find that like these days they seem to be set in their path pretty much from the degree, like, because the degrees are really good now. Like they're much better than what existed when you and I were younger, I'm sure. My university had no idea what they were doing. They just like, I think we got a copy of Maya. go.
I think.
It was like no structure, nothing. Um, but now, like all these degrees, they go for like 3 years, sometimes 4 years, and they prepare students and they put them in their career path. And I feel like maybe there's a less discovery that can happen afterwards because they feel qualified for that job, and then that's what they're going to be for like their whole career. And they're really going in like head first. And that has its pluses. I guess it means that you can really focus on what it is that you want to do. But I found the fun of my career was just never really knowing what was next, and kind of just saying like, all right, yeah, I'll give it a shot. Like when I applied at DNEG, so my whole time at Weta, I never got to use Houdini. So I was in the effects department, and the only department that theoretically could use Houdini. They had 2 licenses and nothing worked. Like they didn't have any, like it wasn't plugged into their pipeline. So just before I left, I managed to do one shot on X-Men First Class, where I managed, I got to use Houdini to do that shot. So I was kind of like learning Houdini as I went to do that shot. It was the Banshee guy, like the guy who screams in X-Men First Class. Like he just does like these sound waves and uses the sound waves to like fly. And there's a one shot where he jumps out of the plane and then he kind of screams into the water to like bounce off the water. Anyway, that was kind of like the first shot that I ever did with Houdini. And then after that, then we moved to London with my wife, and I started work. Well, I applied at Double Negative, and they're like, oh, I see Houdini on your CV. Like you were using Houdini at Weta, and I was like, for one shot. But yeah, technically, yeah. I mean, I didn't say for one shot, but I was like, yeah, Houdini and Weta, yeah, for sure. Like little do you know, they don't use it at all. And they were like, so you're ready to like do this sequence, work on this complex sequence in Houdini. I was like, let's go. let's do it.
It's scary.
And I was asking the stupidest questions, and like I walked into to DNEG, like, and some of the Houdini guys were like, wait, you said you're a Houdini user? And I'm like, yeah, totally, man. So anyway, how do you navigate? But shot got delivered. I don't think we got nominated for the VES for that one, but I think we were close. We got put up for a nomination or something. It was on the Hunger Games Catching Fire. Yeah, it was that final sequence where like second one. Yeah, it was like lots of trees, procedural trees and stuff like that. So it worked out, but it's just like learning on the job is just, to me, the best way to do it. And
I think learning on the job, or like project-based learning, that's the thing. You cannot learn without applying. Especially, I think this applied for many disciplines, or for almost everything in life. But definitely for what we do, you need to do it. You can watch 1,000 tutorials and it's not gonna help. It's gonna be worse than watching one.
I mean, tutorial. Yeah, I don't really watch tutorials, to be honest. No, at least not from the beginning to end. Most of the time I find them so incredibly boring, to be honest. And it like I love that they exist, because the moment that I need to solve a problem, I'll find a tutorial that's kind of similar, and I'll kind of skip through and be like, that's where the button is.
The good tutorials, they're the ones that are I mean, for me, when they have short videos that tackle one thing at a time, and it can be a good reference later when you go through all these, to use it as a reference. So this video that does this, it's this one.
And they're easy to find as well. Like they're easy to find on Google, because if it's a big long video with lots of stuff, it's just like, how are you gonna find that one little nugget of knowledge that you need?
It's
Yeah, and I sure as hell am not spending, 3 hours just watching a tutorial. Like that's I don't
yeah.
ain't nobody got time for this.
Yeah. I was yesterday. It was a rainy day here, and I was all day at home with the kids. And when I get the laptop, I'm gonna watch some this after lunch. Unreal tutorial. So I was like this on this like this like
Just like
all fart sleeping on the chair. Yeah, it
yeah.
was. I mean, and the tutorial was great. This was my. I'm getting older, I
Yeah.
guess.
No, yeah. I mean, it's just, I guess I'm getting older too. Yeah. But I don't know. I just, the format never really did it for me. But, again, really useful when generally I
Yeah.
like just opening it up and I start clicking around and I start kind of doing stuff. And then I hit a wall and I'm just like, how do we do this? Or how do I do this? And I'll find some tutorial that kind of gives me the answer I need to keep moving forward. Um,
And
yeah, but it's definitely on the job learning. I mean, if my career had depended on me being successful in university, I would not be working. you know, like following the course syllabus and kind of just they tried to teach me programming at uni, and I just did not take to it at all. It's
yeah.
almost like I found it so incredibly boring, and I just wanted to make pretty pictures. I wanted to learn Photoshop, I wanted to learn Maya and make cool little characters that ran around and did funny things. And they're like, here's some programming courses. And I was just like, I don't want to learn this. And they were teaching like really irrelevant programming as well for 3D, like Java and stuff like that. And I was just like, I failed all of these courses, and I quit uni before I graduated as well because I was
Mhm.
like, I'm not going to learn what I need here.
Yeah.
So I just started applying for jobs
Mhm.
and started calling all the. I grew up in Brisbane, well, on the Gold Coast in Australia, um, which is not far from Brisbane. It's the kind of closest major city, and there was not a lot of animation or VFX happening there at the time. There was some, and so I just kind of got on the phone and just started calling like every single studio that did any type of animation, and I just went like, "Hey, I'm a junior, haven't graduated yet. I just want to work for free. Will you take me?" And they were like, "It doesn't really work like that, man." And I was like, "Dude, I will work for free. Like, what more do you want?" And it was like, "I'm not even sure if that's legal." um, but I ended up finding some studio. Well, it wasn't really a studio, but some guy that was doing architecture viz, and he was like, "All right, cool. Yeah, I'll take it. You want to work for free? Come in." So then I worked with him for a few weeks, got a little bit of a portfolio, so to say, with that, and then called other studios and said like, "All right, I won't work for free, but I'll work for really, really cheap." And then finally kind of like just made the jump and the jump and the jump. But yeah, my university time was like completely useless to me.
Yeah, I felt like yeah, many of I don't know, unless when I was studying, there's a lot of brute forcing knowledge without purpose, I will say.
Yeah.
And obviously not by any means any kind of project-based learning or anything. Just brute force because it's in the
It's in the syllabus, so
yeah, in
you
the
have to
syllabus,
learn it.
and
Yeah,
yeah, and
yeah,
that's it.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
remember one time asking my math teacher. Uh, we was studying like linear algebra and like very bread and butter for 3D. Like, and I asked my teacher, for what is this? Uh, for what? How I can apply this to real life? And the reply was something like, and it was, I guess that it was a bit burnout of, but it was, when you grow up, you will know.
Yeah.
And it was right. I
Yeah.
knew. But if it just asked me, what do you like? And I will say I
Mm,
was doing 3D like since very, very young, like as a hobby. If
mm,
you will just ask me like this and you can apply to that, or
Yeah, yeah,
it,
yeah,
it was not
yeah.
like, I don't know. I guess I hope the this has changed now, so there is a bit more like
I mean,
focus
in
to.
the specialized schools, definitely, I'd say so. They seem, well, you know, they, most of the major schools now, you end up with a group project, and
Yeah.
you know, some of them, you know, win VES awards and all sorts of stuff. So I think now, at least the major, you know, animation schools have understood that project-based learning is the way to go. And I agree. And in fact, you know, I kind of wish that I had that chance to, you know, make a short film with
Mhm.
friends at university. It would have been nice. You know, I kind of dreamt of it at the time, but my degree was so not geared towards what I wanted to do, because it was more like, it was a strange degree. It was a multimedia design
Mm,
degree. And it was the first time they ran the degree. So the first year. So they were still finding
yeah.
out what this was going to be. So
Mhm.
then I left that and I went to the Queensland College of Arts to study 2D animation for 1 year. And again, there I was like, there was just not enough 3D. And I was like, uh, it's fun. And I like 2D animation, but I kind of wanted to learn 3D. So I just kind of quit that
Yeah.
and just got a job basically. That I was like, that's the only way I'm going to learn. Um, yeah.
But different times, for sure. I think, and it's
Yeah,
just
for sure.
changed very fast. I think it's like
Yeah.
every 10 years. I think it's completely changed everything, or even less years, I would say.
Yeah. Well, and now with like the rise of Unreal Engine as well, it feels like everyone's going back to the drawing board and everyone's relearning everything.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
lots of us kind of old VFX guys are kind of, you know, having to learn real time, you know, and
Uh,
what that means to do things in real
yeah.
time and optimize for real time and stuff like
Mm.
that. It's like, you know, we used to be quite spoiled with how many, you know, polys we could throw at stuff, and you know how much time you can wait for like a water sim or something, you know. And like now it's like, well, you know, at least with my new job now, it's all
Uh,
like, all right, this has to run, you know,
mm.
this has to tick, you know, in
Yeah.
milliseconds.
Yeah.
And you just have to think completely differently.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we are, I mean, in the industry that you cannot afford stop learning. I will say that's the baseline. You cannot
Yeah,
afford stop learning. It's not like, I mean, I will say in any career path you cannot afford, but here with in or any uh, technology related career, I think
yeah,
it's clear that, I mean, unless you want to be like I don't know, like an artisan doing like a pot or something, that maybe, I mean, and you cannot stop learning there, even it looks always the
yeah,
same thing and it didn't maybe evolve,
yeah, yeah.
or it's a classic art, but still, I think it's a
Yeah, I agree.
lifetime
Well,
career
especially if
path.
you're in like more technical departments.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not like when you're in an artistic department, you stop learning, but
Hmm.
maybe the the tools that you're using, you can kind of keep doing what you do best, and what you're learning is more the artistic side of it.
Yes.
Like I'm thinking of like ZBrush, you know, modelers. There's a lot of modelers out there that just kind of model in ZBrush and that's all they use. And the software itself has new features once in a while, but it's, you
Hmm.
know, ZBrush from when I started learning it, you know, 15 years ago to what it is now, I would recognize it, you know,
Hmm.
like me
Yes.
15 years ago would go like, yeah, that's ZBrush. And I could already start, you know, playing around with it.
Mm.
Um, so, you know, then you're kind of just more working on your art.
Yeah.
But with the you know, any kind of tech related job, like where you're, you know, effects or lighting or where like where you always have to be scripting or coding or doing something kind of technical, like it just changes so fast. It's just,
Yeah.
you know, like even Houdini has so many new features every year
Hmm.
that I don't think I've had a chance to even try one of them in the last year, you know, like they have like this Solaris that looks, you know, freaking awesome, you know, like the whole USD pipeline. They you know, they rejigged KineFX, like they created KineFX. They kind of they just add so much cool stuff. Oh, Tops as well. I forgot about Tops, which is like complete pipeline, you know, management solution. You know, with Tops you could almost just dump your pipeline and just use Tops, and you know, you have a pipeline. It's crazy like how powerful it is. And I've been using Houdini for years, and I haven't had a chance to like test any of these new features at all.
I think and any, I mean, any of these big DCCs, I mean, Unreal, for instance, also there's, I mean, you cannot, I mean, you can, but it's gonna be hard if you, I mean, if you're a technical animator or on Unreal, that you know how to do blueprints and you go really good and you get really good and with a control rig now, and how to do all the, like, this character animation part procedurally and things like that, and be really good at shaders on real time, and very good and gameplay, and very good, I mean,
it's too much.
It's too much. They're huge, and
yeah,
I mean, you can know a little bit of everything, but to be good in something, or it takes time, and it's hard to keep up with everything.
Yeah. I mean, the nice thing is, like, for example, my the studio that I currently work at, Untold, they definitely have like a really good attitude towards people learning different things. So they basically, you can see that in the way that they have their title structure as well. Like you have VFX artist, VFX lead, and VFX supervisor. And so you don't have like modeler or junior modeler, senior modeler, you know, rigger, blah blah blah. You're a VFX person. And so that means that if you start gravitating towards something new, or you want to learn something new, they facilitate that really easily, because the whole studio isn't like just segmented in departments. That's not to say that we don't have like departments, like actual kind of department supervisors and things like that. Like we're actually looking for a rigging supervisor at the moment, just in case anybody's listening, that give me a call. We have like department supervisors, but then the people that work in those departments, it's actually kind of free flowing a little bit, and you can you know, if all you want to do is rigging, you can just continue doing rigging. But if you show interest to something else, it's really easy to kind of change between the two. That's what I really like about Untold. And then that means, you know, with that comes the fact that they also give you the time, and they really try to help you kind of learn this new thing that you're doing. So with Unreal at the moment, I mean, I have some experience with Unreal in the past, which is why I became the real-time supervisor. I didn't just again, like, can you use Unreal?
Unreal. Google.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. What is Unreal? I had some experience with Unreal when I ran a mocap studio. Me and a friend kind of like started a mocap studio called the Mocap Studio in London, and for 3 years we were sort of doing a lot of mocap, and that was, you know, my sort of my day-to-day. And we were using Unreal and Unity to like do real-time sort of display of the mocap on the final character. So I already had kind of, you know, a bit of experience, especially doing character stuff in Unreal, and, you know, getting stuff looking kind of nice. But clearly, you know, like Untold understands that like there's a new feature or something crazy in Unreal that comes out like every week, it seems. So sometimes I just tell them, like, you know, I'll book out my day, and I'm just like, guys, like, there's this new control rig that came out. I must know like what that's all about. So, you know, this whole afternoon I'm just learning, and I need that time, uninterrupted to be able to learn it. And they completely understand and support that, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah, that's absolutely that great that the studio they can give you or allow you to have this time, because sometimes it's you get you can get stuck if you don't have time to learn new stuff, and it's kind of like a cycle, vicious cycle, I would say. It's difficult to pull off. But Simon, I think we hit hour and a half almost on the I'm terrible finishing the podcast. I must advise that at the beginning when we start recording, but I think we maybe we can wrap here. I think it's very late for you also. Like, thank you so much for being.
Yeah, it's 2 a.m. It's all good. I'm happy. Like I said, no worries. I'm a fan of the podcast, so I was really happy when you contacted me.
It was really great to talk with you, and for sure I will put all these links in the description on the video, but I will send you also back to you. And definitely I will try to visit when I come back to Europe one day after Corona allows us to move again freely in the world.
Cool. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
looking
so
forward
much.
to it. Take care. Bye.
You too.